Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm doing Dakota's makeup. I'm just basically doing a brown smoky eye on her because I feel like it would fit her face shape and face features really nicely. So I'm just filling in her eyebrows with the Inglot Brow Gel in the shade 16. Just kind of going off, basically she's got a pretty good eyebrow shape anyway, but just like kind of overlaying them a little bit, like we all like them to be. Then I'm taking the P. Louise eye base. This one's in the shade number 2, which is Rumour, and I'm just using this to carve out underneath her eyebrows and then and then put it all over her eyelid as well. And use this as an eye base as I normally do. As we all know, I'm obsessed with this eye base. I love it very much, and yeah, it makes all the eyeshadows that you use stand out so much, and yeah, it's amazing. So now I'm going to be taking the James Charles Times Morphe palette, and I'm going to be taking the shade No Beans. This is the colour that I'm starting off to use all over the lid. Then I'm going to be going in with the shade 10% Off, which is like kind of like in between the two colours that I'm using, the three colours that I'm using. So I'm going to be using that as the middle sort of shade to blend out the No Beans shade. And then last of all, I'm going to go in with Code James, which is like a sort of light orangey sort of colour. And this is the colour that I'm going to use as like the end sort of blended out color. All these colors work really nicely together because they're kind of all of the same sort of orangey burnt tones, and they're super easy to blend together as well. I do find sometimes the James Charles palette is harder to blend in with other eyeshadows, but together they work really well. So I do try and stick, if I'm using the James Charles, then I'll just stick with the James Charles sort of thing, just as I feel like it does definitely blend all together a lot easier, I would say. So I'm just kind of going in back in with the same colors, just deepening up the areas that I feel like need deepening up, and then going back in and blending everything out again. I just feel like this way of doing things is, I don't know, it just makes sense to me. So yeah, I just continue blending and packing on the color until I'm happy with the result. Next, I'm going to be doing liner, but I want it to be a smoked out liner. So I do draw a line with the 77 Inglot gel liner on her lash line. And then I also go in with the Inglot Kohl pencil in the shade 01, which is just a black, and kind of blend that out once it's slightly dried, just to give it more of a blurred out effect. And then I do also go in with one of the Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadows. It's the shade Noir. It's like a really black shade, and I just go in with just like on a flat sort of shader brush and just really blend out the rest of it. I just felt like this would look super nice with her eyes, and I just wanted it to be like this really blended out, smoky brown eye, I guess. I just feel like it just looks really pretty. Then just applying some lashes, just some fluffy ones from AliExpress, because I really wanted nice fluffy lashes with this look, but I also didn't want them to be too big because I kind of didn't want the eyes to look too dark, if that makes sense. But you want them to be big enough that you can still see them and they still look nice and fluffy. Oh my god, fluffy, and complement the eyeshadow as well. The glue that I use is the Huda Beauty glue. I think it's only dark tone is the only one that they actually sell. Here I'm just wiping away all of the fallout from underneath her eyes. There wasn't actually too much, which I was quite impressed with. And then I do prime off camera. I think I just forgot to press record. Whoops. So I use the Benefit Matte Rescue Primer, and also the Laura Mercier Radiance Primer too. Then I'm just applying some of the P. Louise eye base underneath her eyes, and I'm basically going to be using the the same 3 shades that I used on the top on the bottom, but I'm only going to be applying the 2 shades I used first, so No Beans and 10% Off, and then I'm going to apply the Code James shade once I've got her foundation on. So I feel like you can really kind of blend the two together, so it's not just like the eyeshadow and then foundation starts, if that makes sense. So I do go in with the darkest shade, which is No Beans, and then I go in with the 10% Off shade, and then afterwards, once all the foundation's on and stuff, I'll use that other shade because it's a little bit lighter. I'll just use it to blend everything together really seamlessly. Then I'm just applying some of the Inglot 77 gel liner in the waterline, and then I just get like an angled sort of flat brush, and I just apply a little bit of the Anastasia Beverly Hills black underneath just to really smoke out that lower lash line. I was super happy with how this turned out. It made her eyes pop so much. Then I'm just applying the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. I mix light beige and warm beige together. I feel like this is a really nice shade for tan. I feel like sometimes warm beige can be a little bit too dark, a little bit too slightly too orange. It depends on obviously your skin tone, but most of the time I do like to mix these two shades together, as I feel like it does really make like the perfect faked hand shade. I just think it looks really nice, and it's not too orange, and it's also not too light as well. And also blending that in with a Dirty 30 sponge, as I normally do as well, because I love them and they're amazing. Then for concealer, I'm going to be taking the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Custard, and I'm just going to be blending this in with the little mini Dirty 30 sponge. I'm also going to be setting that, as I normally do, with the Laura Mercier Translucent Powder. When I'm applying, when I'm blending in the concealer underneath, I do really make sure that I'm not going too close to the eyeshadow, because obviously you really don't want that eyeshadow to be covered up by the concealer. You just kind of want it to go as close to, but obviously not on top. Then just applying some of the Laura Mercier translucent powder. Obviously it doesn't really matter if that goes over the top, because it's translucent powder. It's not going to do anything to it. As you can see, I do apply it to the laugh lines as well, but I make sure that that is completely blended out before I start with the cream contouring. So as per usual, I'm taking the Bobbi Brown, that's the one I was thinking of. Bobbi Brown Cool Almond Foundation Stick, because it's like my favourite colour on the planet. And just a stippling brush, and I'm just stippling this all over her face, just as the colours, just to kind of bronze up around the cheeks and stuff. And I feel like when you start putting the powders over the top, it just enhances that sort of contour underneath. And then just setting the face with the Australis Fresh and Flawless powder. This one's in the shade Darkest Brown. Apparently they've actually come out with new darker shades of these. So I'm actually going to go to Priceline probably this week, and I'm going to see what sort of shades they have, because I'm interested to see if the formula and stuff's like still the same. Because sometimes I feel like when it's a darker shade, it like, for some reason the formula changes slightly, and I really don't understand why that has to happen, because I'm obsessed with the formula that I'm using right now. Then I'm just taking the Hoola Bronzer by Benefit. As you all know, I like to just really pat in any sort of powders that I like to use, because I don't like dragging it on the skin. I feel like you get more of a flawless finish if you are sort of slightly patting it into the skin rather than dragging it across the foundation. I just feel like that way everything sits really nicely on top of one another. Then I just wiped away the under eye bake, and I'm just applying some blush. This one is the MAC Warm Soul Blush. It's such a nice colour because it looks quite pink in the pan, but it's actually not. It just gives like a really nice flush of colour back to the cheeks. Then I'm just applying the Oh Darling highlighter by MAC. This is one of my favourites. Actually, I need a new one because, as you can see, we're running a little bit low. So I'm obsessed with this bloody highlighter. It's one of my favorite colors. I think it just looks nice on so many people. Honestly, it's one that you really need to get. Then I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just adding a little bit of bronzer kind of around the areas that I feel like just need a little bit more, just touching up, because sometimes I feel like when I put the highlighter on, I just need to kind of go back over it again. Then just applying a little bit of Hoola bronzer to the nose, and then just applying some mascara to our top and bottom lashes. I always do the top ones first, so then when people look up, because if I got to do them the other way around, if I got them to look down, then the bottom ones are more likely to touch the skin at the bottom, if that makes any sense at all. And then I'm just applying MAC Vanilla Pigment to her inner corner just for a little bit of a pop. Then for lipstick, I'm taking the MAC Strip Down Lip Pencil, as per usual, because this is literally my favorite nude lip pencil, along with the NYX retractable lip pencil in the shade Natural as well. That's a really nice color. Or nude's quite good too, but I think that's more pinky. And then I'm just taking the shade either Honey Love, no, this one was Yash, because I wanted it to be more brown tone to match the eyes. And then I go over the top of that with the Fenty Gloss Bombs Fenty Gloss Bomb lip glosses in the shade Fenty Glow. Oh my god, so much Fenty. Just to give the lips a little bit of more of a gloss. But yeah, then I just go over the top with some of the Laura Mercier powder, the translucent one, but in the shade Glow, just to give, like, again, the skin a little bit more of a glow, because I wanted this to be kind of like a soft but full glam at the same time, like kind of a mixture of both. And then I just use the Kat Von D Lock-It Setting Spray over the top, and there we have the completed look. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you so much to Dakota for sitting and letting me paint her face. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!
Only dreaming, 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 only dreaming.